Happy fall, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Mother Son Market Watch. I'm Matt Thomas with Baird and Warner in Chicago.
And I'm Sue Thomas with Keller Williams in Doylestown, Pennsylvania.
And we're excited today to have, really, it's going to be a conversation about the market, how the market is doing, where we think the market is headed, and in between some bad behaviors that we've seen both sellers and buyers pick up along the way in this COVID marketplace. So how are things going over there, Mom? Have you been busy lately?
Yeah, 2020 was a record-setting year for you and for me. It was crazy. People did things they would have not normally done. They bought homes without seeing them. They didn't inspect them. They paid more than they should, all because of, I think, fear factor, and also because they could stay home and work.
Yeah.
2021, a lot of them had to go back to work. And so we're feeling a little of that shift and pushback, which is, I guess, what we'll talk about today.
Yeah, I think we're seeing the same. I think really what's defining our marketplace right now, and I think the best place to start this conversation is the biggest question: how is the market doing? If I look at the Chicago marketplace right now, two things stand out to me. Number one, activity is through the roof. I would even use the word gangbusters. If we look at September of this year versus September of last year, in certain neighborhoods, it's up over 50% in terms of the number of contracts written on homes in that neighborhood. So I think we have so many buyers flooding the marketplace. And then, kind of our secondary biggest factor is inventory. So inventory was improving slowly, but it was improving. Now, with so much demand and things flying off the market as quickly as they are, inventory is kind of stagnant in some neighborhoods or even down. The only exception to that would be the really urban downtown marketplace, where we do have an abundance of condos for sale. So that's really what we're seeing. We're seeing low inventory in a lot of neighborhoods and a huge level of interest from buyers writing contracts, at least here.
Yeah, we're seeing a similar thing. I'm looking at my numbers year over year. And for example, our pending units are down 10%, which is an interesting number to me. And we also have less inventory than we did a year ago when we had none.
Wow.
So it's interesting. I think that buyers went crazy and they bought everything they could. And in certain price points here, it's all suburban. People are buying very quickly, but not quite as quickly as they were. I'm seeing home inspections coming back into play. I'm seeing appraisals coming back into play. So they're not quite as frantic as they were even 3, 4, 5 months ago.
Right.
I had a call from a guy who has a for sale by owner, and he priced it way outside the market, and it's in my farm area where I work a lot. And so he's been calling me and checking in, and he's not getting the business that he wants to get. He's not getting the traffic. And so he asked me my opinion, and I said, I think you've outpriced the market. And I think that the greed factor has taken over for a lot of these sellers. And they don't want to hear it. They think the market's going to go, and you can't do this forever.
The ever rising meter. Yeah.
Forever. Yeah. So that I'm starting to see that more. I'm starting to see the reality check that maybe the craziness is coming down.
It's interesting you say that, because when I've been discussing strategy with my sellers, especially around where they price, I like to think of it as you could sell it at median market time price. You could sell it faster than that price. And then you have the push the ceiling and, you might be on market longer price. That is not the place to be right now. Pushing the ceiling or pushing the top level, everybody's chasing the pricing down. You're not getting offers. The other end of the spectrum, I'm finding if you price something more aggressively, that's where you're seeing multiple offers. That's where you're getting a lot of buyers through the door. If you are sort of the most, I won't call it aggressively priced, but the most attractively priced item at that quality of finish in that neighborhood, you're attracting a lot of buyers right now. That seems to be kind of universally true.
I've always told my clients, you want to be the prettiest girl in the room. And you want to have the nicest home. So when you look at pricing a house, I always look at the spread and where you're going to sit in the spread.
Right.
You really don't want to be here.
You don't want to be up here. Yeah, that's tough. Yeah.
And you probably don't want to be here either. But if you're in the middle and you look the best, they're going to look at everything in that price point. And if yours stands out for whatever reason, that's always a good place to be.
Yeah. I would say it's interesting you bring up the contingencies. Before COVID, I don't think I ever would have thought of the Chicago marketplace as being a place where we were waiving things like an appraisal contingency. Wasn't something I would ever advise to do. It wasn't something anybody had ever asked me to do. Now, with how competitive things have gotten, and I see that in other markets, we're feeling that here. I'm having buyers and sellers who ask about that or offer that, or it's a very interesting, what I would consider bad behavior. It leaves yourself exposed when you're going through these transactions. But buyers seem to be willing to do almost anything to get these homes.
Yeah, and it's a hard position for us as a buyer's agent. You know, if you're the listing agent, you're skipping to the bank. But if you're the buyer's agent, you don't feel like you're giving them the proper representation, and they're all in. They're
Right.
owning it. And I'm having them sign waivers saying, I told you you should inspect this property, because
Right.
we just had Hurricane Ida whiz through here, and people that didn't have water for 20 years had water.
Yeah.
And different things occurred. Well, even outside of that, you move in and 3 weeks later you find your roof's leaking or the pipes aren't right or whatever
Exactly.
it is. It's no good. It's a bad
Yeah,
spot.
I just think the protections are there in a purchase contract for a reason. If you want to work with as is, but still do an inspection, or, there's ways that you can be reasonable but helpful. But to just give up everything, it's just risky. It might work out great. It might not, though.
Yeah, but it is risky, but it's how the game was played for the last 12 months.
Yeah, that's true.
So you had to be fast and you had to be aggressive and waive everything and give them your first chlorin and a blood sample.
Yeah.
And even then you might lose.
And that probably wasn't enough. Yeah.
It wasn't enough. You're bringing the bag of money and whatever.
Right.
But you were talking about like the bad behaviors. I think that we're all waiting to see if the market is in shift. I've been doing this for 34 years. So in 34 years, I've seen a lot of shifting.
Yeah, no kidding.
And to your point earlier, if you price way up here thinking you're going to push the envelope and then you're chasing it. Time on the market is never your friend in any market.